Oh, we got the phone? Oh, okay.
What do we got?
Yes, on the phone we have David Benioff and Dan Weiss.
I'm so excited.
The creators of, I think my favorite show on television has got to be is Game of Thrones. Hi, guys.
Hey, how are you guys?
How's
Thanks
it going,
for having
guys?
us
Good. How are you?
on. Good.
Did I fuck up that intro?
No, it's great.
That was good, man.
Okay, good. I'm always panicking when somebody calls in. I'm going to butcher and botch the introduction. What? Now, you guys are the heads of probably, I'd have to say it's the biggest show on television, no?
I don't know if it's the biggest. I think The Walking Dead might be the biggest, but we're doing all right.
Oh man, it's the biggest of
We're
us.
the welterweight champions.
Now, how did you guys meet and come to take this? Because these things were books which I have not read, but Matt has read.
I read. Oh, I'm the biggest geek you're gonna ever find with this stuff, guys. How are you? It's Matt Serra. Guys, I'm so thrilled that you're on with us today. You're not gonna find a bigger Game of Phones fanboy than me. Phones?
Yeah,
Is it
no,
Game of Phones?
no, it's Game of Phones.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
Guys,
to the creators.
No. Game of Thrones. You know what? They know what I'm. Guys,
I know
every
we
day,
certainly do. Matt is red. His head is red.
I always like
Crown
Beetlejuice.
of Thorns.
Guys,
Game of.
I read all 5 books when Jimmy's done breaking my balls. But listen, I read everything, and each season of the show gets better and better. It's the 6th season, and it's arguably the best season. You know, where do we go from here? I'm psyched. First of all, congratulations. Did I say that?
Thank you, sir.
You did.
Well,
Yeah, no, that's hearing the enthusiasm. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Hey, it really does.
well, can I say, as a New Yorker, you knocking out GSP was
listen to
maybe
this.
the highest I've ever jumped in my
Oh my! See
my
that,
white
Jim?
boy life.
Jim,
I don't have
did you
great
hear
jumps.
that?
I did hear that. I'm very
I
happy.
get excited when the guys that I look up to, and I watched a million interviews with you guys and George R. Mount Martin and just how you guys met. I got that right? Did I get it right?
George,
I thought you said George R. R. Martin, which I like.
No, not
Martin.
Mount.
He said Martin. No, no.
That's my bad accent.
And he wrote Game of Phones. For anybody who's not
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
This is coming out great. But listen, with the books, is there anything that in the books that you did not use that kills you, that you couldn't put in? Because it's great. You're getting the meat and potatoes, and the books. There's so much to get in. Like there's so much in the books that you can't possibly get everything in. Is there anything that kind of killed you that you could not put in the TV show?
I guess thinking back to season 1, there was supposed to be this big battle with where Tyrion Lannister follows the Mountain into combat, and we were really excited for this fight because we were gonna have the camera at Peter Dinklage's eye level and have him follow this giant, the Mountain, into battle and just see everything. And we just ran out of money and we couldn't do it. So that was one of the big battles from the book that we had hoped we could get on screen, and we never managed to do it. So that one was still makes me sad.
How does the author, too, because it's got to be hard to see your stuff put into a screenplay when there's so much more detail in books. Has there been any conflict with the author at all? Were there any things that he thought you guys, hey, you shouldn't have put these 2 characters together to make one, or any complaints that he might have had?
We have a lot of, we talked to George a lot about this stuff, especially when we started out the process. And the great thing about George is that he worked in television for, I think, more than 10 years. And, he'd gotten Emmy nominations before this one. And, he kind of knew how the sausage got made. So he wasn't, a lot of authors who have their work adapted have never been a part of an adaptation process before, and they get really precious about every last thing. And I think George, not to say George has agreed with everything we've done, but I think by and large, on the grander scale, he gets what you need to do to adapt something, and he's a grown up and a gentleman about it.
And you've had to you've had to kill off some really, really interesting people, and I understand you have to follow the book. Of all the guys you've had to kill off, or the characters you've kind of had to kill off to stay true to the story, which is the hardest one that you've had to get rid of?
There's so many that are hard. I mean, one of the first ones was Jason Momoa, who played Khal Drogo. And that was something he came into it knowing that he was going to die at the end of the first season. So it wasn't a surprise or anything, but Jason became such a good friend of ours over the course of shooting that year, and has remained a great friend of ours. So that was a heartbreaker. I've noticed that, to me, I think in the second episode of season 4, Joffrey, the amazing thing about it was Jack Gleason, I think his name is he's the most fucking hateable character I've ever seen in a television show.
Until Ramsey's up there too.
This kid was more Ramsey. At least I thought was a sociopath. This kid was a brat, a boy king, and we all know somebody like that. I was amazed that you guys killed him off. Is that just what the story called for? Because again, I haven't read the books.
Yeah, Joffrey.
Yeah, I mean, it was
pretty close.
It was a big thing in the books that we stuck, as David was saying, we stuck pretty close to.
And I'll tell you, as far as battle scenes go, in the Battle of the Bastards, and it's the same director, I believe, as in Hardhome. Miguel, I'm going to kill this. Yes, that's it. Man, I will put that fight scene, that battle with the Battle of the Bastards and with Jon Snow, and I would put that up against anything in Hollywood. Braveheart, Gladiator. That fight scene was amazing. Like I guess when the show picked up steam there's no more trouble with getting the money to take care of that. Like you said in the beginning with Tyrion, you wanted to get that you didn't have the money for that. Yeah. I guess that's not a problem anymore with the way that thing looked.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it comes down to the time. To shoot a battle like that just takes so much time, and time is money, obviously. And so every single shooting day, you've got so many hundreds of crew members, and each one of our first unit shooting days is only like $270,000. So that adds up, and we just didn't have the time for it season one. But in a way, I think it's probably better that we couldn't do it because it never would have measured up to what we were able to do later. And Miguel's just got such a great eye for that stuff, and so much of it's just like in the nitty gritty, these details of Jon Snow getting kind of swallowed up in that body pile, and
oh man,
that was very uncomfortable to watch.
That was actually almost you have to almost look away at that part. It was so great.
And what we really wanted was a sense of how random it was. At a certain point, it doesn't really matter how good a fighter you are. Like these arrows are falling down from the sky. You can be the greatest fighter in the world, but it's just luck that one of them doesn't plunk you in the head. And horses are running over everybody left and right, and it's really not the best and the bravest who survive necessarily. It's the guys who just happen to be lucky in the moment.
Even Jose Aldo's jaw sometimes ends up in the wrong place.
Are you guys fans of MMA? I mean, are you watching UFC 200 coming up?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I stayed up with a bunch of the actors and crew members in Belfast, which is where we shoot the show in Northern Ireland, to 6 a.m. watching the McGregor Aldo fight in Vegas this past December. I mean, we talk more about MMA than we do Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, good.
That is very cool. That's
every
so
day,
cool.
Every night we come home from shooting, we'll just sit around and watch, we'll drink beer and watch Fight Pass until.
Now, were you guys heartbroken that he lost to Diaz, or were you shocked, or did you not care?
We were there. It was kind of shocking.
It was pretty shocking.
Yeah.
I felt bad for all the Irish fans who flew all the way over from Dublin, and they're greatest fight fans, and I felt more bad for them than I did for anyone else. But
I didn't feel as bad for them because I'm a Jose Aldo fan, so I felt bad for the Brazilians that flew to Vegas for 13 seconds. I mean, that was.
Oh man!
When we were in the arena, we heard Nate Diaz when he first got the mic after he won. We thought he said, "Surprise, motherfuckers," which we thought was the best line we'd ever heard anybody say. I'm not surprised, motherfuckers. It's so good.
Yeah, I think that's even cooler.
We kind of wanted to do a punch up on that line and rewrite it down.
My hope is that Weidman comes back and knocks out Bisping and Madison Square Garden.
Oh man! Oh listen, that's Chris's hope and my hope and everybody's hope as well. We're gonna see who he's matched up against. He just had to get that surgery on his neck, but he's getting better. He's healing up nicely. Don't look at me, Jimmy.
No, I'm listening to you because I like Bisping. I like kind of the fairy tale way he wound up becoming the champion. It's such a bunch of things had to happen, like you said, with the arrows falling, and some of it is just luck. And with Bisping, the same thing. Some of it just kind of fell the right way for him. And you really terrible segue by me, by the way. But I really do hope that he stays champion for a while.
Well, that's why
I like that segue. I thought it was a good segue.
Thank you very much.
Now, guys, getting back to Game of Thrones, do we know like how many seasons are left in us, or
2 more?
Oh, 2 more. Wow.
Is it a 15 episode maximum?
Well, probably 7.
Sure,
it's the 2 seasons will be a bit shorter. We don't have a definite episode count, but each season will be a little bit shorter, just because each year it takes longer and longer to shoot.
Do you also have the ending? You know how it's going to end?
Yes.
You do.
Don't put them under these hot lights, Jimmy.
No, I want to know. And how far ahead of the books?
No.
Matt mentioned you're being ahead of the books. How far ahead are you? Or can he catch up by writing a book and grab to where you are and then pass you? Or is he kind of following your lead now?
Well, the book's pretty much ended when Jon Snow got stabbed, so we're pretty far beyond that now.
There were left from the books that we plugged into this year, but this year I'd say 90+% of this year was beyond the books.
Now, guys, I don't know if it's like taboo to talk about. Like it's almost like if I was about to fight somebody back in the day and somebody brought up another guy to fight, I'd say, whoa, I got to handle this first. And I know you guys are not done with the Game of Thrones right now. You got a couple more seasons, but let's say we're done. And in the like, I've always thought like if is there like room for like a prequel type thing? I mean, there's a million ways you can go with this. Robert's Rebellion. You could put it through Rhaegar's eyes, Rhaegar Targaryen's eyes. I mean, there's a million different scenarios. The characters, there's so many different characters and. You could, I mean, this, again, this is probably stuff you guys already thought about, or again, it might be taboo to talk about. Have you thought about any of that, or is it too early?
Definitely not.
Definitely not taboo. I mean, it's just this is such a 24-hour-a-day job that we think about thinking about it, but then once we start thinking about it, we realize we have other things that are immediately pressing that we need to be thinking about today. But yeah, I mean, one of the great things about what George did is he didn't just build a story; he built a world. Like you said, with so many characters and such a rich kind of detailed history behind it, that there are a lot of different ways you could go with it. We just haven't had time to really think through the details of it because we're so focused on actually just getting the show made.
Right,
100%.
How did he feel about Jon Snow being brought back?
You would have to ask George because I don't know how to give an answer without spoiling something for the books. The books and the series are so different now that I don't want to say anything that might give away.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Is he putting out another one, or is he done?
Oh no, he's still writing. I mean,
he's
writing
okay.
The 6th book right now. Yeah.
And let me ask you now: have you guys and him? I've heard that there was some type of at least a collaboration where you both kind of know what the other is doing, so you're not that crazy far off base, or are you totally independent of each other?
I think we know some of the things he's doing. I mean, for instance, when we met with him he lives in Santa Fe, and so we went to Santa Fe a few years ago and sat down with him and kind of grilled him about everything he was planning. And one of the really exciting things he told us about was the origin of Hodor's name, and so that was what triggered the scene in this past season with Hodor. And we know some of his distant plans, but the one thing George always says is there are two kinds of writers: there are gardeners and architects, and architects are the ones who plan out everything beforehand. They create the blueprints for the show, for the story they're trying to tell. And the gardeners are the ones who plant the seeds, and they kind of discover it as they go. They plant the seeds and they watch what blooms. And he's a gardener, so he doesn't necessarily know everything that's going to happen until he writes it. So
that's interesting.
Which is great, and that's why his books are so good. Unfortunately for us as TV writer producers, we kind of have to be architects, because we have to write all the episodes before we shoot the season so we can plan out the entire season. And, for us, we know where we're going. We know where the final season's going to end. We could write the final episode right now if we had to. So.
Sure, and an interesting point, too, or something I thought, was and this was, I don't know if it's because you guys are ahead, but I noticed at the end of the season there was a lot of deaths, but there was nobody killed off who we really cared about. Or who really hurt us to see go. And that to me is kind of what Game of Thrones was known for. Was that the fact that it's harder when you're in the television world? Like Dexter, I heard that the writers wanted to kill off Dexter, but Showtime wouldn't allow them to. Or at the end of the first season of Homeland, they wanted to kill off Brody and the network said no. So did the network oppose any particular deaths that you guys might have wanted to do?
No, absolutely.
No, they've never. One of the great things about working with HBO is that they don't operate that way. There's none of this. I'm sure on some level they'd love to see the show carry on beyond the seasons that we've got planned. But if they trust people that they work with, if we tell them that the story ends here and there is no real story beyond that endpoint, like they stick with it. And we told them in the beginning, we said we want to hire Sean Bean to play this role and be on the poster, and then we want him to die in the 9th episode, and that was built into the DNA of the show. So if people live or die, it's really all kind of down to the dictates of what's going to make the best story. There's no ulterior motives or forces at play in that.
That's good to know. I tend to like HBO more than the other networks because they do stuff like that. And I think the other networks tend to cartoon things a little bit and worry too much about offending the viewer. So I like that you guys have done that a lot. Now let me ask you, Gendry, our producer, Gendry, sorry, I don't remember that character. I know he left on the boat 4 seasons ago, and no one has seen him since. Which character was that? Can you refresh my memory and tell me what happened to him?
Gendry is the blacksmith kid. He's one of Robert's bastards that Arya traveled up north with. He's the one who Ned came to see in season 1 because he realized that Gendry was Robert's illegitimate son, and Gendry's the one who realized that Arya was a girl, and they became friends. I remember he had a bull helmet and
Oh yeah, man.
ringing any bells. Remember
right.
he rose away from the island at the end with Davos kind of set them free. So
He's still rowing.
yes, he's still rowing. It's a very very long.
Coming up on Florida.
Yeah,
Coming up on Florida.
that was the producer's question. I told him no
He's getting
spoilers.
in
They aren't
great
going to
shape.
spoil anything.
Think of the shape he's in after rowing for 4 seasons.
Yeah, big lats.
So when do you guys come back on the air? Is it April?
No, I
This
don't
year
know.
will be later. We don't have an air date yet, but this year will probably be a little bit later because we're starting a bit later because at the end of this season, winter is here, and that means that sunny weather doesn't really serve our purposes anymore. So we kind of pushed everything down the line so we could get some grim gray weather even in the sunnier places that we shoot.
Okay. Well, we are fans, man. It's a brilliant show. It's amazingly well acted. There's nothing about this show I don't like. I wish you guys did a few more episodes a year, honestly.
Yeah, and again, this last season,
Thank you.
every episode was just amazing. Talk about a strong season, and a lot of the shows.
Thanks, guys.
With your 6th season, I mean, that's a lot to be saying, a lot to be said for. Is that English?
Well, it's funny.
Hey
'cause-
Jim, we should tell you that we both would we used to go see your stand up at the Improv before we had kids and got to go do stuff like that. And I personally am a huge fan of your metal show on XM. I listen all the time.
Oh, thanks, man. That's nice to know on Ozzy's Boneyard. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
If you want to
love
send
it.
me a
I listen to all
playlist,
of it.
I'd love to. If you have a 13-song
Oh, my
playlist, dude, send me one. I would love to do that.
Oh, dude.
Do it in a second.
The real
You
Jim
wanna
Norton.
go right now.
Okay.
The real Jim Norton at gmail.com is my email address, and that'd be awesome.
Excellent. Oh yeah, that would
Now
be
the
fun.
whole world's got your email address.
That's okay. It's a public one. They have it anyway. I get a lot of dick pictures, but it's worth it. All right, guys, we appreciate it, man. You guys are geniuses, and thank you for giving us such
thank
an
you,
amazing show.
Thanks so
for
much,
having
guys.
us on.
Oh man, thank you guys. It was really a lot of fun talking to you.
All right, we'll talk to you guys soon, and hopefully see you at a UFC event.
That'd be fun.
Yeah,
Thank
hope
you, guys.
so.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care, guys. Thank you.
Take care.
Dan Weiss and David
fellas.
Benioff. Take care, boys. The creators and producers of Game of Thrones. And I'm not blowing smoke either. Like, I love that show so much. It's so Cersei is I should have just yapped about her because she's my favorite one as the queen on the show, which is
Cersei?
very appropriate to my lifestyle. But I do actually enjoy her so much. And even my favorite clip of probably Game of Thrones is when she's talking. The guy I don't know. He's the mayor on The Wire, Mayor Carcetti, and he's always hanging out with Sansa Stark, the older guy.
Yeah, you're talking about Littlefinger.
There you go. But that's where she fucking has the swords all pulled out of him, and he says, knowledge is power. And she tells him to cut his throat. No, I've changed my mind. Oh, that's such a good scene.
Oh no!
I know, I'm like a teenage girl. I know, my budding breasts, my eager chatter.
The dialogue alone on that show is just. See, I had to kind of try to control myself from being such a fanboy.
Dude,
Like, I tried
Game
to-
of Phones.
Listen,
There's a new one.
There was a bunch of. I'll tell you right now, I was a total marble mouth during that whole thing.
I loved it.
I said Game of Phones, and then I did something else that wasn't proper
Game
English.
of Phones.
A Game of Phones.
Oh, that's what you play when you're in a relationship.
Oh,
You know,
man.
you keep
Then
the
my-
fucking dirty boy
my-
phone in the drawer.
My head turned like beet red. I don't know what's the matter.
That may
with
be
me.
so. They won't notice it on Twitter.
Oh, but you know what's nice about that is they love that. Is that the guys? Isn't it funny? They knew us. I still get amazed by that. I think I'm that. I'm just. I feel like a regular guy. So when a guy like that, and they watch you fight or they watch your act, doesn't it kind of take you back for a little?
Yeah,
second?
I'm always surprised, and I always assume, it's my low self-esteem that no one knows who I am,
That's
and
how I
no
feel.
one has ever seen me do anything, and that everything I say, I always feel like I'm talking into a fan, like a blowing fan, and no one can hear what I'm saying, and it's just shit, and it's blowing back at me, and no one cares. That's how I look at my life. Just an insignificant little fellow. Bumbling through life with his MeUndies and his fairly good-looking
Your MeUndies
penis.
and your beat elite.